everyone, and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. In this, our August 30th, 2021 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including the sad passing of Ed Asner. We're going to be talking about the latest episode of Supergirl, upcoming comic books, and so much more. We're also going to turn to you to ask for your questions and comments on any particular Superman topic you would like to discuss, and to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Doing well, and yourself?
Oh, man, if it was any better, I couldn't stand it.
Very good. What's happening with you?
I'm hip deep in con prep. I'm on vacation, and as you can see, I managed to lose a fight with a giant hook on a wall yesterday.
Ouch.
So other than that, I'm great. But that's not why people are here to watch Superman Homepage Live. They're here to listen to us talk about Superman, and because of that, we want to hear from the people that are watching us live right now on YouTube. And there's an easy way for them to do that. They can call in. And if we don't have a whole lot going on, this is how that works. You're going to need Skype. Go to Skype, search for Superman Homepage, and send us that you'd like to chat with us tonight live on the show. Now, a couple of things. One, message us. Don't just call in because that can screw things up. And two, if you use an external speaker to listen to Superman Homepage Live, please mute that as we are on a delay, and that can screw things up.
Yes, indeed. And for those who are tuning in live via YouTube tonight, we invite you to join in the comments there. There are already people watching live. JP, Justin, Mark, and a few others. Join in, post your comments, ask questions. People will react to them. Michael and I will keep an eye on that as well, and we will react to your questions and comments as the show goes along. But if you'd like your comment or question featured on the screen, that's called a super chat. All you have to do is click the little dollar symbol there below on YouTube. A slider will appear. You decide on the amount you're willing to donate, and we will feature your comment or question on the screen promptly. And thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. We appreciate your support. And if you want to support the Superman homepage and this show, you can click the join button below there on YouTube, or you can head to patreon.com/Superman homepage. Well, Mike, it's been another pretty good week for Superman news. A few things to get through, a few sad things to get through, and it's the end of the month, so we have segments to get through. So, but let's jump in straight up with the sad news of the passing of Ed Asner, who was 91, a legend of both movie and television. He's been in so many different roles and so many iconic roles. Lou Grant being his main one from his time on the Mary Tyler Moore Show and his own show spin-off from that. But for Superman fans, he voiced the role of Granny Goodness in Superman the Animated Series, and if I'm not mistaken, he also voiced the role of Perry White in All-Star Superman, the animated movie.
Yeah, and that's like one of those like non-brainers that they would have cast him at some point. I mean, he also played J. Jonah Jameson on the Spider-Man animated series, so that just kind of, I guess it's kind of makes sense that eventually he would be the gruff reporter over in Metropolis as well. He's one of those guys that he's kind of, I don't want to say eternal. Because but he just seemed to be in everything just at least once. I mean, he was Granny Goodness, which was inspired casting. If you want to make a tangential Superman connection, he was in a Christmas movie called The Christmas Card with John Haymes Newton. So that it all comes back to Superman, yes. But I think it's just Lou Grant was one of those characters that if you grew up in the 70s and the 80s, the Mary Tyler Moore Show was pretty eternal, and Lou Grant had his own television series as well, and it must have been influential because when they were in the early stages of planning Lois and Clark, they called it Lou Grant with a superhero. But no, it's just it's interesting that his legacy, extends right up until he passed away. Up is one of those beloved Pixar movies.
Fantastic.
My favorite role of his, though, and it was a small one, was Cosgrove on Freakazoid. Uh, he didn't really do all that much, but just the way he said his lines were hysterical. So yeah, it was really sad to hear of him passing.
And just to remind folks of his voice on Superman the Animated Series, here is a clip from his time voicing Granny Goodness.
Let me tell you, tadpoles, how I work. I seek out the lost little lambs society has cruelly abandoned. I take them lovingly under my wings, give them the power to face the cold, heartless world, and kick its butt.
We're in.
But you hardly seem the type. So bright-eyed and soft-skinned. Life has not scarred you as it has my other goslings. Still, we can remedy that.
There you have it. That's just one clip of Ed Asner voicing the role of Granny Goodness from Superman, the animated movie, and our condolences to his family and friends at his passing.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we move on still with some movie news, and this is kind of on a personal note. You and I participated in something that wasn't for the Superman homepage. We collaborated for a podcast by StarPodLog, who asked you and I to discuss Superman the movie and its lasting impact on the Superman fandom for their latest edition of the StarPodLog podcast. Looking at that classic magazine, Starlog, from 1979.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. It was you and I recording something, not doing something live, which is usually the craziness that we do every week. So it was nice to be able to just kind of not have the whole setup that I normally have. But no, it was it's a great podcast, and it was really fun discussing that Starlog article because the big takeaway, and we want everyone to listen to the episode, of course, the big takeaway was how everything that seemed to be like new information in like 2001 was readily available to anybody reading Starlog in 1979 or 1978.
Taken aback at just how much was known even way back then when it was freshly out. Yeah, people keep reposting some of the information now as if it's new, but it was old news back in 1979. So, yeah, listen to the episode at starpodlogpodcast.blogspot.com, and it's also available on our website, supermanhomepage.com, dated August 28th. Michael and I are discussing at length the article from Starlog magazine back in 1979. Mark Lax saying in the comments he didn't even know that the podcast existed. So we've brought new people to that podcast, which I guess is the point for why they invited us to come on board and do it. Smart way of doing that.
Yeah, no, it's I actually kind of like the setup. You get a bunch of people to record segments, and then you stitch it together and you release it as a show. That's pretty slick.
There's a lesson there.
Yes, there is.
All right. Well, let's turn our attention to the television side of things, where you are back on board as a reviewer for the Superman homepage now that Supergirl has returned with new episodes. Episode 8 of the 6th and final season of Supergirl aired last Monday night there, and it was, or is it Tuesday night?
Tuesday night.
Tuesday
yes.
night, yes. And it was titled "Welcome Back, Kara." You gave this episode a 4 out of 5 rating, and you were pretty impressed.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of back to form with. I think what I said in the review is that this actually felt like the season premiere of like season 6.5, basically, because it's of a piece to what we saw earlier in the year, but it really does feel like a whole new beginning. and it was really great just seeing the entire cast back together again. I think the thing that made me happiest is that I thought Zor-El was going to stick around the entire season.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know where I got that idea, but it just seemed like that could be something they would do, and thankfully they're not. I do like that he keeps wearing the crest. You know, it's an L family crest, so he's got a lot of clothing with it on. So, but no, I mean, it hit you over the head with the sociological, commentary. Global warming is bad. Okay. I think they went almost a little overboard comparing it to Krypton.
Mm-hmm.
Like really close, but that kind of played into Zor-El's character arc for the episode, so ultimately it worked. But yeah, it was really cool kind of seeing how, more than anything, Kara dealing with her trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the best, the best part of the episode was her kind of having many panic attacks and then finally breaking down at the end. Because it's nice that they're dealing with her time in the Phantom Zone. I'd make a joke that we're going through similar trauma for having experienced those episodes, but that seems mean, so I'm not going to fully do that.
Yeah, this episode was definitely about trauma and trying to break free from, past experiences, both for Kara with the Phantom Zone and Zor-El with his experiences from Krypton dying. So, very much an episode based on those topics. The introduction of, well, not introduction, but the story of Kellet having to be retrofitted and then becoming the monster of the episode was quite hilarious. The special effects weren't too bad for that, but you had this giant junk monster, attacking the land, from coming from the ocean onto land.
Yeah, that was good. Them dealing with the crashing satellite was really not good. I think they needed another pass on that. Especially the flying effects of them flying into the sky going after it, I thought were, we're so spoiled by Superman and Lois having pretty decent effects like throughout all of, 15 of the episodes. So maybe it's unfair to compare the two. But yeah, it was just the trash monster was fun. I think you hit on it right there. Somebody called it like a trash kaiju, and I kind of dug that as well.
So a couple of questions or comments from our live viewers. Mark Lack saying, "What's Andrea's deal? She seems to be very very aggressive towards trying to get things moving with Catco, and her methods seem to be bordering on a bit obsessive."
Well, she just almost completely ruined herself financially with the what happened last season. So she felt really on point with somebody trying to get back on top and having to prove themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't actually have any problems with her. I'm surprised she's still around, but I guess they need that Cat Grant office filled. So and it was interesting seeing her suit up again, though.
Yes.
To steal that information. I was just like, they haven't forgotten that. Very nice. Okay. Good.
Shadow powers. Justin comments that he noticed a massive difference in the design between the Fortress of Solitude on Supergirl compared to that on Superman and Lois.
That I am not one of the people that is joining the chorus of why wasn't Supergirl mentioned on Superman and Lois. That Fortress of Solitude thing is a little stickier wicket, so to speak, because it's just they are two complete. Did he have two fortresses?
Yeah.
Did he have the fortress? Are they going to explain that that's the fortress he built after Kara got there? And then the one that we saw on Superman and Lois was his private man cave fortress. That's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're two different shows, and they've got have to, for logistically with everything going on, they've come up with two different designs or two different locations, but most of it would be CGI. So
Yeah,
it's weird that they
that's the
haven't
other kind
decided
of.
to stick with the same design.
Yeah, that was my thing. It's just like most of that has to be CGI. The statues and
Mm.
everything, and the way they look when they're in that set, it looks like they're in a CG. It's like looking at like Episode One, Star Wars Episode One scenes of people walking through digital sets. So it's just it is one of those things where I'm like, guys, I've been trying to give you all the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving you all COVID passes here and there. I do kind of want an explanation on that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see when, if ever they kind of tell us where they're at with the crossing over. Um, and we'll have a talk about a crossover thing happening in a second.
Mhm.
But there is a new episode of Supergirl airing tomorrow night there in the US, Wednesday night here in Australia, titled Dreamweaver. It's the ninth episode of this sixth and final season. Surprisingly, we haven't had a trailer released for this.
Yeah, well, they just started. No, they haven't just started filming. Why didn't we have a trailer for this? That is really weird. Usually, it's because I watch it on the CW the next day, and they don't do the next time trailers. I usually watch those on the Superman homepage. Um, but yeah, it's now that you're telling me that they didn't have one, that's really strange.
Because they usually release them online directly afterwards. People, post about them, but yeah, it's just not there at the moment. So I don't know what's going on. But there's just no trailer for the upcoming episode. We do have images, which we've posted a while ago, but no trailer yet. Just checking YouTube now for it, seeing if there's anything being released. Um, but as of like before the show started, there was still no trailer for it. So interesting that they haven't. And I even checked other websites that usually have these things posted as well, but no
Hmm.
new trailer for Supergirl. But the episode, as I said, is titled Dreamweaver and will air there Tuesday night at 9 p.m. So check out that online. But sorry, on the CW. But as I mentioned, there is a crossover happening on The Flash, which will involve Kyla Lee as Alex Danvers, or in her role as the Sentinel, for an upcoming five-part thing that they're doing. It will be titled Armageddon, and it is a five-part special event starting November 16th. It's on The Flash, but Alex Danvers, will be joining Team Flash along with Batwoman, the Atom. Brandon Routh is back as the Atom. Black Lightning, Mia Queen, Ryan Choi, as they face off against Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, and Damien Dark.
Yeah, I'm interested in this. Naming it Armageddon's kind of loaded because that makes me think of like Armageddon 2001, but I don't think it's going to be any kind of adaptation of that, especially with Damien, unless they haven't mentioned it yet. But with Damien Dark coming back, it seems like they're wanting to get their crossover
Mm.
fix done, but it seems like it's just going to be on the Flash, so everyone is guest starring on one show instead of it spreading out to other shows. Or am I wrong on that? Is it spreading out to like Batwoman and all that?
I believe it's just the Flash.
Which is probably the smart way to do it. I know Superman and Lois was like planning. I thought I heard rumors that they were going to have a thing with the Flash when they start filming their season,
I heard that too.
which. But no, I think it's really excited that it's Alex that gets to be part of this
Mm.
because it really beefs, like gives her character more cred, and she deserves it. I mean, she's been with the show from the very beginning, and now she's Sentinel. Not quite sure about that name, but okay. Um,
We do have
I
a
know it
description
seems weird,
of
but
what's
yeah.
happening with Armageddon. It says a powerful alien threat arrives on Earth under mysterious circumstances and Barry, Iris, and the rest of the Team Flash are pushed to their limits in a desperate battle to save the world. But with time running out and the fate of humanity at stake, Flash and his companions will also need to enlist the help of some old friends if the forces of good are to prevail. Another alien threat.
Yeah, but an exciting way to kick off Flash's new season.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've heard a lot of complaining from that fan base. So maybe they're trying to make this really big just to get everyone back on board.
Yep, maybe indeed. And speaking about getting people back on board, as we know, we're at the final stages of the Supergirl TV series, and we'll get some old favourites returning to the show with Jeremy Jordan coming back as Windshot, along with Chris Wood reprising his role as Mon-El. But we now have confirmation that Mehcad Brooks is coming back as James Olsen for the final episode.
I'm really glad to hear that. I really wanted to see. I mean, if you're gonna have like a good final episode send off, you really need those two to at least make an appearance of some sort.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I would have liked to have heard was that what's her name, Callista Flockhart.
As Grant.
I mean, just film her like calling in on a video conference. I mean, could do that. Yeah, well, that would be nice to see. But it's just, I'm just happy to see that like the band's getting back together, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And Melissa Benoist is saying that it was great to get back with her friends. It's always difficult to get that many people back in the same place, especially in the pandemic. So I'm really glad it worked out that way. And that's fantastic. So yeah, we now power through for more episodes of Supergirl, airing Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. on the CW, as the 6th and final season gets towards its conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And
we've been mentioning Superman and Lois, and there is a new sci-fi and fantasy magazine coming out from TV Guide magazine that will feature Superman and Lois. Turn that one off. Superman and Lois on the cover. It is one of 4 covers for the sci-fi and fantasy publication. The limited edition collector's magazine includes a close-up at the coolest sci-fi and fantasy series on TV. There's, as I said, the 4 covers. There's The Boys, Lucifer, Superman and Lois, and The Witcher, with Henry Cavill, obviously, and so much more in this magazine that you can buy just the one cover for $8.99, or each additional cover is only $5.99, and this will arrive in stores on shelves September 14th.
Yeah, it's cool that they made the cover. I like that.
So yeah, Sci-Fi magazine. If you're interested in TV Guide magazine, the Sci-Fi and Fantasy edition, Ultimate Collector's edition. So you can check that out when it comes out September 14th. All right, where are we at? We're gonna get into our fan favorite segment to start with, and then we'll continue on power through with This Week in History, the Big Question, and the Super Secret Soundbite. So let's start with the fan favorite segment of our show. All right, Michael, what was our fan favorite question from last week?
Who is your favorite character on Superman and Lois, and why? And Stephen Marshall wrote in saying, sorry, but the answer to who's your favorite character on Superman and Lois is really cliche, as it's Clark Kent / Superman. The writing and performance from Tyler are pitch perfect, and it's so close to my headcanon version of Superman, it's scary. Also, as a father of 2 boys, I find myself been relating to this version of Clark more than any before. If I had to pick a character other than Superman, I would pick John Henry Irons, as I've been wanting to see a good version of Steel in live action since the 90s. No, Shaq certainly didn't live up to the expectations back in 1997. Ha ha.
Thank you, Stephen. Then we've got a response from someone I haven't heard of before, or maybe I'm skipping, but Mo Walker wrote in saying, here is my response for the current Superman homepage live question. My favourite Superman and Lois character is the show's co-lead, Lois Lane Kent. Bitsy Tulloch's take on Lois is recognisable as the gutsy investigative reporter who sometimes leaps into the story without thinking through the consequences. However, Tulloch's Lois does pause and at times consider how this would impact her family, especially Jonathan and Jordan. This version of Lois is very knowledgeable of the superhero life, but has not jaded her perspective. Lois is clearly the dominant personality, whether it's pushing back against her father, making sure Clark and boys understand who is the scarier parent. Hint, it is not the person with red glowing eyes. Also, appreciate this version of Lois being so vulnerable emotionally and the show taking chances on the parental, marital topics addressed, child with special needs or miscarriage. Sorry for rambling, but I love Bitsy's version of Lois Lane. Very good. Well written there, Mo. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Ryan Ignatius Pratt wrote, I would say my favorite Superman and Lois character is Superman himself. I appreciated seeing the challenges Clark faced as a father, which was somewhat reminiscent of the challenges he faced as a parent in the comics during DC Rebirth, even though those challenges were of a younger child as opposed to teenagers. A compelling case, though, for favorite character who could also be made for either Lois or John Henry, both of whom were more fleshed out this season, in my opinion, than Clark was. Hope next season brings greater exploration of the Man of Steel to both his life as Clark as well as that of Superman.
Yeah, good points. Ryan, you could say that Clark really wasn't fleshed out as much as some of the other characters, but I guess that's because we probably recognize him more and know him more, but it makes a good point. All right, Jack Rocha wrote in saying, my favourite character of Superman and Lois would have to be Kyle Cushing. Kyle had a full character arc that went 360 degrees, even being bookended by a similar barbecue scene, and in the end he came out a stronger character. Interesting, I didn't see that one coming.
You know, I actually, I'm going to choose, I was going to choose Kyle as well.
Okay.
Mainly because he started out as a character that I thought was going to be kind of a stand-in for a certain character type. And even when he was really pushing for Morgan Edge, I always felt that the writers gave him a really clear reason for doing that. Like all of his character motivation came from wanting to do the right thing by his community. And the actor is just really good in the role. Him and Lana were the big surprise of the show. I'm glad that they made them more than just side characters to serve the plot.
Yeah, for me, I'd probably go with Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois. I was really surprised at just how in-depth her character was, and just how powerful her performances have been in some of the more emotional scenes that she's had to portray this year. So that would be my choice. All right.
Yeah, no doubt. Bitsy has been great, and and it's great to have that kind of Lois on television again.
Yes, definitely. All right, what's our new fan favorite question for this week, Michael?
What is your favorite comic book cover featuring Lex Luthor?
Yeah, back to the comic book side of things for the fan favorite segment. And we've done favorite covers before and things like that, but this one's specifically about Lex Luthor. So let us know what your favorite Lex Luthor comic book cover is, and the email address is on the bottom of your screen right now. info@supermanhomepage.com. That's the email address for you to send in your response for. You can only reach so far with that, Michael.
There we go.
For the fan favorite segment of our show. So let's hear your responses to your favorite Lex Luthor comic book cover of all time. All right, we're going to take a quick break, then we're going to come back on the flip side to do This Week in History and our monthly segments. We'll be back right after this.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
If you're enjoying Superman Homepage Live, then please like and share this video with your family and friends. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you can click on the bell to receive notifications whenever we post a new video. You can also join our YouTube membership program. Just click the join button below. Or you can become a patron and support our website by going to patreon.com/Superman homepage.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer. I'm the voice of Superman and Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Insiders say Lex Luthor to cut nation's power. Superman overpowers Lex Luthor. Alienware powers the nation.
Alienware, embrace the power.
An old Alienware computer commercial back then from the time when Superman Returns was out.
Yeah, they made a big push of that. I remember seeing ads for that like all over the place for their Superman themed stuff.
All right, let's jump into the This Week in History segment.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bonds of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
Alrighty, we actually had a lot more than I thought we were going to have this week. We have, starting with 1941, we have Superman number 13, which came out on August 29th of that year. We have Superman punching a Japanese warship, saving some people, and you had 4 Superman stories: The Light, The Archer, Baby on a Doorstep, and City Beneath the Earth. If I'm correct, The Archer is considered the first appearance of Jimmy Olsen as a character. Jumping ahead to 1951, we have Superman number 73, which has Hank Garvin, Man of Steel. I was going to say male prostitute, but that's a Saturday Night Live gag from way back. But oddly enough, one that featured Margot Kidder, so it's on point. You also have the Mighty Might and Perry White versus Clark Kent in that issue. Also from this, jumping ahead to 1961, we have Action Comics number 281, The Man Who Saved Kal-El's Life, and a Supergirl story called The Secret of the Time Barrier. I don't mean to be overly critical, but that doctor just looks like Clark Kent with a mustache.
Parting his hair in the middle.
Yeah, so also that year you had Adventure Comics number 289, where you had Clark Kent's Super Father, where Jonathan Kent apparently developed superpowers. You also have a Bizarro story called Bizarro's Amazing Buddies. So I guess those are his villains. Because by Bizarro logic, that would work, right? Jumping ahead to 1971, we have Action Comics number 405, which, oddly enough, has a lot of features in it. You have Superman, Bodyguard or Assassin, a Vigilante story, an Aquaman story, and another Superman story called The Most Dangerous Bug in the World. So it's a really cool Neil Adams cover there. Also, that same week, you had Adventure Comics number 411, which had a Supergirl story called The Aliens Among Us, and you also had a Legion of Superhero story called The Weddings That Wrecked the Legion. I guess they were all arguing over who didn't get invited. Jumping all the way to 2001, you have Supergirl number 61, which is the final Supergirl Our Worlds at War crossover. By Peter David and Leonard Kirk. That same week, you also had JLA, number 57, This was during the Brian Hitch Mark Waid run. And also, you have our World's Finest, Our Worlds at War #1, which was a Our Worlds at War crossover, kind of the finale to the whole thing. And then, this is the big one, August 31st, 2011, Justice League #1. Yes, tomorrow my time. It's already tomorrow for Steve. But tomorrow my time, it is the 10th anniversary of the launch of the New 52. That really stuck around, didn't it?
Boy, this thing had so many variant covers.
When I was looking at it today on Mike's Amazing World, I'm like, there's 10 books here, and it's all the variant covers. Yeah, they went all out with that. But yeah,
the new 52.
We don't have time to get into the New 52. We really don't. In the real world, unfortunately, we have one of the deaths on August 30th, 2006. Glenn Ford died. September 1st is traditionally recognized as the birthday of Jonathan Kent. And September 5th is George Lazenby, who was quote-unquote Jor-El on the Superboy TV series, born in Queanbeyan? Okay. New South Wales, Australia in 1939.
Yeah, also known as James Bond.
The what?
Didn't George Lazenby play James Bond?
I think he did.
I think he played him in one movie. I'd be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure we had an Australian James Bond at one point.
Yes, he was James Bond. You broke up a little bit, so I didn't hear James Bond. Yes, he was of Her Majesty's Secret Service. That was the one, if I'm correct, that had what's her name from the Avengers, and Telly Savalas was the villain of that one. But yeah, he was James Bond once, yes. And not fondly remembered by some. I have no opinions. I have never seen the film.
No, neither have I. I just know that that fact. So there is the This Week in History. Thank you so much for that, Mike. We will now jump into the monthly segments. Let's get into the big question segment of our show. Here is our promo intro.
Let's start with the big question.
All right, the big question from last week was, would you watch a Val Zod TV series? Give your reasons. Who do we have responses from for this one, Mike?
Stephen Marshall wrote in, I would definitely watch a Val Zod Superman series. I'm more open to this than a race-bent Clark Kent period film, which I don't think would happen anyway, because I think that's the wrong way to take the traditional Superman. Ignoring two black version of Superman's to race-bend Clark Kent is lazy and been done for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. Also, Val Zod is an interesting character in his own right. I love Michael B. Jordan as an actor, and because he understands the comics, so it would be in good hands.
Yeah, it's a good point, Stephen. I don't disagree on those comments at all. I think it would be sad to ignore the two black versions of Superman that are in existence to alter the Clark Kent character to that idea. Ryan Ignatius Pratt wrote, I would definitely be open to a Val Zod TV series. If Miles Morales can have his own Spider-Man film, then why couldn't Val have his own TV series? Besides, I do not believe it would be a problem, as the general public is becoming more and more used to the concept of a multiverse, given the success of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, recent developments in the MCU, and the storylines of the upcoming Flash film. Good point.
Absolutely. Justin Suarez says, all I can say is if Val Zod is Superman based, just give it a go. It's like if you're a Star Trek fan, if you start from the first Star Trek with Shatner, you follow through all the other Star Trek material offered. People are so judgmental to change. Just give the character some space and roll with it. I think we are blessed with any Superman material because as the world is like at the moment, we all need the hope any way we can get it.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Justin. And No Walker wrote in saying, I like the notion of a Val's Odd series on HBO Max because it would provide an opportunity to flesh out the character, perhaps incorporate some of the new 52 Earth 2 characters and concepts. A movie, in my opinion, would spend the bulk of its 2.5 hours doing an origin sequence that will struggle to differentiate itself from traditional Superman movies. Disney Plus has proven that theatrical quality series can have huge cultural and critical impact. Very well said. Yes, there's been so many great series introducing characters from different universes. You just look at the Mandalorian, for instance, and how well that's done, and it's kind of branched off the whole Star Wars thing, but on a different character, and it's been very popular and very successful.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we're at a point where the streaming world makes all of these things possible.
Mind the Gap in the comments says he'd prefer a Calvin Ellis TV series. I can't even think of the last time Val Sod was actually used. I'd be up for either. It just depends on, but I'd definitely prefer a TV series than a big budget film. I just think you'll be able to flesh out the characters more doing an episodic thing over, say, 15 episodes or what have you, than you would be able to in a movie. I have to agree there.
Absolutely. I agree with that as well.
All right, so what is our new big question for the month of September, Michael?
Are comic books too expensive? Give your reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, comic books compared to, say, streaming services, where you pay only less than $10 a month and you get so many things that you can watch throughout the month, where comic books, you buy 2 comic books and you're already up to the $10 price ticket. I've written a whole article about this for my upcoming Big Blue report, which comes out on September 1st. If you're not a subscriber, you should look for that on our website. But it's definitely an expensive hobby.
Yes, it is.
So let us know what you think. Are comic books too expensive? Give your reasons why you think they are or they aren't, and maybe go into some explanation as to what you think the industry can do to improve it. But get involved in the big question segment of our show. Head to supermanhomepage.com. Under the favorites menu, you'll find the big question feedback form. Send in your responses, and Michael and I will read them out when we get back to this segment at the end of September.
I almost want to say, are comics too expensive? And why do you think the answer is yes?
So true. All right, let's jump into the super secret soundbite segment of our show. Here we go.
Only one thing alive with less than 4 legs can hear this frequency, Superman, and that's you.
All right, the super secret soundbite from last month was this sound. Let's hear it again.
Tell me, what is it like being with my son?
Tell me, what is it like being with my son? And that's a loaded question, but the people who guessed it correctly were who, Michael?
Eddie Chianti, Lynn S.M., Patrick O'Neill, and Ryan Ignatius Pratt.
Yeah, congratulations to those 4 people for guessing that came from the Superman and Lois episode, Oh Mother, Where Art Thou? Where Lara, or her spirit or her entity, whatever, took over the form of Lana Lang and was able there to speak to Lois Lane about her relationship with her son. So congratulations to those 4 people. Let's see if more people can guess where in the world of Superman this new super secret soundbite comes from.
Deep down, you know the truth. You're not a person. You're just a weapon, grown out of one of Hamilton's petri dishes. Shut up!
So if you think you know where in the world of Superman that sound came from, head to supermanhomepage.com. Under the favorites menu, you'll find the super secret soundbite entry form. Send in your entry and we'll read the names of each person who guesses it right when we return to this segment at the end of September.
Woohoo!
All right, that's the monthly segment done and dusted. Let's move into the comic book side of things. Before we get into new comic books coming out this week, I wanted to mention a couple of number ones that came out last week. First, I want to touch on the Superman and Lobo comic book. which came out last Tuesday. The new #1 for this 3-issue miniseries written by Tim Seeley and Sarah Beatty. This was an exciting first chapter. I don't know if you happened to check it out at all.
That I did not. I'm not a huge Lobo fan though, so I mean I'll be able to talk about the other book, but this one I'm blissfully unaware.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was it ended with an interesting twist where Superman was sent to Zarnia, and Lobo was sent back to Krypton. So we'll see how those two fare on their original home planets of each other in the second chapter. But the one that you do want to talk about is Superman 78, #1, the first of 6 issues that came out August 24th. This was an impressive first issue that was like going home in many ways to Superman the movie.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed with it. I think Venditti really captured the voices of the characters from the movies. I think there were times where the art may have. This is going to sound weird because I mean, this is the movie world, but it seemed like there were times where he was drawing specific panels to represent scenes from past movies. Like the Clark changing scene looked right out of Superman 2, and there was like a flying shot that looked like out of the Chasing Rockets sequence from Superman the movie. It's not quite a complaint, but it did take me out of the story really quick. But as far as setting up this version of Brainiac, I thought it was very strong and did very well.
Yeah, it was great seeing Brainiac inserted into this continuity. Interesting to see how that's going to play out. But I agree with you. It didn't necessarily take me out, but I did go, ooh, that's nearly a replica of that scene from the movie or from that movie. There was another one where Superman was on the footpath, and it was definitely the pose of him telling people to stand back before he spiraled down into underground lair of Lex Luthor. So yeah, I mean, I guess that was intentional that they used those scenes, but I can understand where it might take you out if you're so familiar with those movies that you go, oh, that's from that film. The artwork was interesting in that it wasn't creepy the way sometimes what's his name that draws Superman like
Gary Frank.
His artwork can be, and it was not as detailed as some of the current artists in comic books, but it didn't need to be, and in its simplicity, it really brought into comic book life the real life characters from the movies.
Yeah, they looked like the characters without being like photorealistic versions of the characters from the movies. Exactly. And the storytelling was so crystal clear. I almost felt bad, saying what I said, because I don't want to come off as somebody who's just complaining for the sake of complaining, because I really liked the art. I liked how he drew that mid-'80s version of Brainiac as the Brainiac that Superman was fighting at the beginning. And then did a really cool redesign of the Silver Age Brainiac at the end. So it's a great way to set everything up, and it felt like the beginning of another chapter of this version of Superman. Clark and Lois on the streets, Clark getting fussed out by Perry White fussing out Jimmy Olsen. I mean, it all felt really on point.
Well, we're going to bring in first caller for a while, Mark Lax, calling him now, getting him on the line. He's mentioned that he wants to be part of the show tonight, and we usually like to bring him in on the comic book side of things as we get to... Welcome, Mark.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
Oh, not too bad.
That's good. Good to hear. About to get into talking about this week's comic books, but before we do, did you read either Superman versus Lobo or Superman 78 #1?
Well, Superman 78 I read.
Of course you did. You reviewed it for our website.
Yeah, I did the review, but no, I didn't. I'm not a big global fan, so I'm probably not going to be reading that one.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, your review is up on our website for Superman 78, and you gave it a 5 out of 5, saying that you really liked the idea that Brainiac was there when Krypton exploded, and it also gave a hint that all was not what it seemed on Krypton.
Yeah, that they seem to be fading a little bit before it explodes, and it gives you an idea that something else happened before it exploded. So we'll see.
Exactly. But let's look ahead at what's available this week for Superman fans reading comic books. And we have a couple of interesting ones. Superman Batman 2021 Annual #1 is out this week, and that is available in a variant cover for Superman and another variant cover for Batman. We also have Infinite Frontier #5 out this week, and that is also available in a variant cover and a Suicide Squad variant as well. Then we have Midnighter Annual 2021, which is also available in a variant cover. And the reason I mention that is because we've had the Midnighter backup stories in Action Comics for a couple of months now, and this is the conclusion to that story. If you've been reading those backups in Action Comics and want to find out what happened, then you'll need to pick up that annual coming out this week.
I just the only problem I have with the backups is I'm not that interested in them, and yet sometimes we're paying extra for it. I mean, I'm only getting a digitally feed, you know, and that, you know, you talk about the pricing, you know, that's one of the main things right now that I'm a little peeved about, but there it is.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I subscribe via Comixology, seeing that they've had to, you know, do away with the DC Comics app where you could just buy them directly through that. So now I've been using Comixology's website to subscribe to books so that they automatically are purchased when they're released. And Midnighter Annual was automatically added to my subscription because I'm an Action Comics subscriber. It's like, how do I not purchase this, you know, when it quickly comes available on Tuesday without wanting to buy it? It's a tricky one.
Exactly. I mean, it's tricky, all right. They know what they're doing, but yeah, that's what I mean. It's an extra that maybe you don't want, and now you know.
It is what it is. But they're the 3 books coming out this week. And look, we've been talking about the expense of buying comic books, but if you're not worried about getting books immediately, you could always do the subscription thing with DC Universe Infinite, where they come out later on. And we know that there are a number of books coming out in September that have, you know, obviously been around for a little bit for readers who have, you know, buy them instantly, and they include, you know, Suicide Squad #1, Superman #29. Justice League 59, Superman Red and Blue #1, and Action Comics 1029. Those are the books. They're the things that are coming out this month in September for subscribers to that series, of that service.
You can sort of pick and choose. You know, there's certain books you want to read right then, and other books you can say, you know what, I could wait a while, and at that point it'll be on. You know, if you have the subscription, it'll be on DC Universe. So that's a good thing. I just hope they take after Marvel Unlimited and do 3 months instead of 6 months. But look, that's nitpicking. So I'm happy that we have it in the way it is. So.
Is DC Universe Infinite expensive?
No, it's about $8 a month. I think 8 or $9 a month.
Yeah, $8 a month.
Yeah, so that's kind of on par with like the TV subscription services.
Yeah.
There you go. Anything else you wanted to touch on, Mark, before we let you go for tonight's show?
No, not really. Just had fun with the review.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you back on the site.
And, yeah, looking forward to the next one. So we'll see.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, Mark. Well, thanks for being part of the show tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Mark Lax. Appreciate him calling in. All right, before we do wrap up tonight's show, there are a couple of other merchandise side of things that I wanted to draw to your attention. McFarlane Toys has launched DC Multiverse Superman and the Flash action figures, which are available to pre-order now through our website. Here's a pic. Look at the action figures. There's the Black Suit Superman the Animated Series 7-inch action figure. Not really kind of true to the animated series at all, really, is it?
No, and I wasn't a real big fan of the animated series regular Superman one, because you cannot stand him up without his base, and even then it's dodgy.
Yeah. And he comes with a what is that? Like a metal bar.
Girder.
Yeah, girder. And there's the Flash Superman, the animated series, the Flash action figure, which is part of that series as well. So they're available both to pre-order through our website. And the background behind me tonight is this new Superman alter ego lenticular wood wall decor that's available from Hobby Lobby stores around the USA. It's also available online. It's obviously a lenticular that when you move or you move it changes from Clark Kent to Superman ripping open his shirt.
It's impressive. It's a nice piece of art, at least.
And it's $14.99 US. You can pick that up, and obviously you can hang it on your wall. And it's something that you might want to show off in your man cave.
Yeah.
If you have one of those.
Absolutely.
Also, there's a couple of clips on our website this week from the Super Friends, the 4th episode of the Super Friends, The Weather Maker. Won't show that now as we're wrapping things up. And there's also clips from the DC Superhero Girls animated series, looking at the girls driving each other crazy as they learn to actually drive cars, that is. You think superheroes wouldn't have so much problem being that they fly all the time, but there you have it. And also, if you are a fan who is living in Brazil, you might want to check out the turn that one off. The Sierra Comics 2021 digital festival, the Brazilian Festival of Comics, being held virtually the last week of October. All the details are on our website if you want to check that out, but just thought that you might want to bring that to your attention. But that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's episode. Thank you everyone for watching Superman Homepage Live. I want to thank all our people in the comments watching live: Justin, Dave, Mind the Gap, JP, Frog Metal, and so many more. Mark Lax, who called in as well. Thank you for your participation in the show tonight. Thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. And thank you to you, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey.
Yeah, pleasure as always, Steve.
And remember, if you tuned in late, missed part of the show, want to watch it all over again, you can do so at both supermanhomepage.com and our YouTube channel. But Michael and I will be back again for our next show on September 6th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Another edition of Superman Homepage Live. We hope you will join us then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Mr. Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.